All right, stand for the pledge. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, before we get to the minutes, I just want to announce that we have a change in the membership. I am still the chair. Mr. Conley is still the vice chair, and I'm just doing this for the record up here. We have Legislator Bombardo, Berger, Castilla, Chesbro, and Yurden. Committee, we lost Mr. Klein, right? Just for the record, I wanted that video for the first official meeting. And I assume everybody had an opportunity to read the minutes. Get a motion?
So moved.
Second. A second, multiple seconds. Any discussion, any changes? All in favor? Any opposed? Okay. All right, we did the recognitions already. Let's move on to PS1, Resolution Awarding Professional Service Contract, RFP 24-PMO-003, Radiological Consultant Services. Yeah.
That is.
What's about that?
This is for radiological consultants. We currently have an expiring contract with Rick Watts, who is also being recommended to for the new contract. He's the only one that did the contract, but his experience and knowledge regarding the radiological program is insurmountable.
We're just renewing the contract.
It's a new contract for another 5 years,
Right.
but it basically the same contract.
You're happy with it?
Yes.
All right, any discussion? Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. PS2, resolution authorizing the Oswego County Emergency Management Office to accept grant funding from the Richard S. Shinneman Foundation. All right, Kathy, it's for you.
This is for $2,500. The drone program received grants from Shinneman Foundation. It's targeted towards developing education materials and supporting community engagement initiatives. So promoting awareness about the program.
Any discussion? If none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. PS3, resolution authorizing the creation of one temporary full-time position in the 911 department. Can we get a motion?
Make motion. Second.
Okay, Kevin?
So we've had an employee tell us that they're going to be retiring late spring, and we're getting ready to start our next recruit academy on March 3rd. So since we have enough applications and stuff for our position, I'd like to see if I can proactively hire to have that person coming out, or have her replacement coming out of the recruit academy shortly after she leaves, as opposed to having to wait maybe, I don't know if we're going to need a recruit academy in the fall or next year, so it could be a year. We'd have to wait to fill that.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Okay, PS4, resolution authorizing budgetary modification, Sheriff's Office transfer from Insurance Recovery, Treasurer's Office, Automotive Supplies, Repair, Road Division, 2 trucks. Get a motion? Motion. A motion. Get a second? Okay, how much are we talking about?
8,260.
8,000? Okay. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Carries. Okay, PS5, resolution authorizing reclassification of account clerk position to senior account clerk, Sheriff's Department. Can I get a motion? A motion? Got a second? Who's going to handle this?
It's just something we tried doing last year. We just it fell through the crack. We didn't get done for this year. Just bumping a girl up. Lady for me. She is a great employee, and we want to keep her around. And I foresee her going up through the ranks there.
Yeah, I believe this was one that we discussed last year, but we didn't have the compensation study done, and that's the only reason we held it back. Everybody was for it, but for that.
That's
So,
correct. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
PS6, resolution authorizing reclassification of 2 corrections officer positions to 2 corporal grade 6 positions within the Sheriff's Office Correction Division. Can I get a motion for discussion? Got a motion, Frank? Herb gives us a second. Okay, Don, you again?
Yeah, the contract, I believe there were 6 of them or 8 of them authorized in the contract. Last year we promoted 6. I'm not sure.
It's just-
There's actually-
These were the last 2 that we had not.
Well, there's 4 left, according to the contract, to be filled. We think that we've negotiated with them to only fill these 2, and I told them that if they were looking to fill the other 2, it would come in next year's budget, not this year. These are definitely 2 for this year, but they were in their contract that they were going to get, I believe it was 9 corporals, and this would make 7 total.
Now, I'm just, why couldn't it have been put into this budget?
I think it was
Why couldn't it have been done last year so it would,
it was an oversight because we thought with the contract it was going to be just automatically done, and then when it came out and they asked for it, we looked and they weren't in there. So I fall on the sword on that one and just thought they weren't asking for it, so it was kind of out of sight, out of mind.
okay. All right.
Any other discussion? Right.
Right, the discussion I have is just on the salary. I'm looking at the salary for the corporal in the jail, okay, dealing with prisoners, supervising people. There's only $3 more than your part-time senior typist. I mean, what are we saying that, the guy dealing with criminals and supervising people aren't, are only worth $3 more an hour, and I don't like that. I think that it should show something that, that our compensation studies relate to show that corporals in other jails, that's what they make, and senior part-time typist makes this in other jails.
One reason for
Finding
that,
out.
Frank, would be our senior typist is somebody with 25 years of experience, I believe, and the corporal that shows it's starting at an entry level. So if you were looking at one of our senior correction officers, if he was to become a corporal, it would be much higher. But unfortunately, because of the unions, we pay also for time served. And we have somebody coming back that's doing our payroll and doing a pretty important job helping us out in the part-time typist
I understand. I'm not saying that the senior typist shouldn't get what she's getting. That's not what I'm saying. Okay. What I am saying is that when you put somebody that's in charge of people that are taking care of criminals, that I feel that, their life is more on the line than, somebody that's in the office. Yeah, they're doing a great job, person, and I'm not saying that she shouldn't get what she gets.
I agree with you 100%. It's just
What can we do?
contract.
Is there anything that we can do that, say, okay, they should get a higher rate?
Well, keep in mind, on the rank structure, we have to keep the salaries between a corrections officer and a corrections sergeant. Most of these people that are taking these corporal positions are also taking the test to become sergeants. And they, that's what they are.
And their contract is up this year, so I'm sure they'll be looking to address.
I just would
Bear with
rather,
us.
I'd like to see it, if there's anything we can do to make it higher, because I'm sorry, I feel for these guys that, it's not a job that I would do, and not a job that I would, try to do, because you're not dealing with, somebody that may be a criminal, you're talking about people that are criminal,
Nope, we appreciate.
okay? And I would rather see something higher. I don't know what we can do somewhere, but I think we should.
Well, we just settled the contract.
Yeah.
So there's not much we can do until the next contract.
It's all
That's basically where we're at. I mean, this is something that's a contractual negotiation with the union that we've agreed to, and we've accepted and voted on already, so it's not something that we can change until the next go-round. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Okay, we're on PS 7, resolution creating one part-time senior typist position in the Sheriff's Office Correction Division. Is there any motion for discussion? Motion, we got a second. Don, you again?
I'm sorry, I was zoned out there.
We're talking about a senior typist position in the Sheriff's Office Correction Division?
This is
Yeah,
the,
what we had is our senior typist retired about a year and a half ago. She came back part-time and she was just on a different line. So we had to address that with HR and make her permanent part-time. And we had 2 civilian positions. She retired, went part-time, comes back and does payroll and helps us out. And then we have a regular typist that does the daily work in the office. So we're just moving her from a spot she was in, putting her on a permanent part-time spot.
was these wages gone from vacancies to pay for it?
That's what you're anticipating, right?
Where did we take this one? Take it for the
Part-time
part-time.
line.
We had a part-time line that was on there
Okay,
that we didn't have any positions into
okay,
currently, so it's coming out of a position that was budgeted for,
okay.
a part-time position that was in budget.
And just that, as the year starts, looking at salary and wages and how it's affecting vacancies, and because last year we went down the rabbit hole with that with a lot of departments.
Nope, I understand
You
completely.
see what I'm saying? So I'm just wanting to know the same thing that was happening before.
And recall that I'm holding departments to using vacancy money only for personnel lines, not for anything else.
Okay, any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, moving on to executive session, matter pertaining to the employment history of a particular person and not a reason for promotion of a particular person. I'm not familiar with this with that. What do you think?
It came from Rich. Rich isn't here.
Rich isn't here.
Okay. So,
There's not a department here that knows what that's about.
yeah, is anybody trying to promote somebody? No? We need to discuss privately? Okay, well, we'll skip that then. We'll have to bring it up at the next meeting before the reporting departments, let's move on to that. Kathy, you're always up first.
Sure. Here. So, since our last meeting, we're still working on a bunch of updates to some plans, our math annually plan. We're using tabletop exercise early first quarter. Today we brought in a new intern that started our office, Pete, working underneath Tyler to get some knowledge and experience in emergency management to learn more about county government. So we welcome her to the team. We are also working on our mass care planning effort and MPAC employment plan. And we just found out that the health department had received a grant on climate change health adaptation, and they asked us to work with them on that, so we'll be working with them on that. And we did participate in a tabletop exercise with our IT department that was given to us by New York State Division of Homeland Security. We're working on that with them with their county cyber plan as well. Here, from the radiological perspective, we do have an induction pathway seminar that we're conducting in February, which is going to involve all of the 17 induction pathway counties that surround the nuclear power plants for 9 Mile Point and for Gannett. So I'm excited to provide them with some information. As for the drone, I'll let Kevin talk about the DFR piece, but just to recap a few things. Recently, the drone coordinator was able to launch the DFR, which is the equipment that's on top of the Bolton Municipal Building, to oversee a traffic stop in Bolton, and was able to show the chief and deputy chief that picture of what was going on, and they were severely impressed with it. So just working on some bugs with that, but doing some test flights. And another piece was one of our sheriff's drone pilots was able to find a missing snowmobiler up in the northern part of the county over the weekend. So some good kudos to what the program is doing, and thank you all for reporting it. You want to talk about DFR at all?
Yeah, I want to, because we had some trouble with the internet service or something over there.
Yes, currently the two docks are connected to the City of Fulton internet, and we have had some issues when we've been doing test flights of flights bugging out in the middle and doing exactly what they're supposed to do, return right back to the dock and land. So the safety portion of it has been showing that it's been working, but we've been losing some connections. So John McGraw has been working on troubleshooting that, and seems to be that there's not enough bandwidth when we try to tag our stuff into all the stuff that Fulton City is doing. So over the weekend we were able to do a couple handfuls of test flights with no issue, because there was nobody in the Fulton City offices. So we do have a firewall that we're working on putting into place to protect our equipment from any cyber risk or anything like that. It's also, though, going to allow for internet connectivity through some of our cell equipment, so it'll be a backup. But most likely, with what we're seeing, we'll probably be working off of our cellular equipment more often than working off of the City of Fulton's internet.
And it was severely cold this weekend. Any effect on the drone at all?
Nope. The docks have heating and air conditioning within them to keep themselves within a temperature range. And they were cleared. There was some snow on them. It was that hard snow, but the way that the doors open up, the snow falls off, and what little bit does get inside melts right away and runs down through the drains that are in there.
Drones have no trouble operating in snow.
Nope. So, the big thing is just making sure we, have, good airspace monitoring. We're able to actually, have good distance we can see.
Good.
So.
Perfect. Good. Kudos on getting that up and running. Hopefully you can get all the kinks worked out. That's great.
I'm impressed that it can run in the snow. I was afraid that was one of the problems we were gonna have. I thought there was some question there back maybe a year ago as to whether or not, how well they would work.
Zero visibility we can't fly because we can't see and make sure that there's nothing in our path.
Gotcha.
But in a decent amount of snow, yes. The technology, we can turn thermal on and we can see through the snow, but you can't make sure that your airspace is clear. That's
So you didn't de-ice their little things or anything?
No.
Okay.
When you stand in that heated dock, it takes care of all that stuff.
Okay.
So.
How much snow can the doors pick off?
That's a good question. We haven't had an issue yet. So, and we've actually had snow this year. So it's been a good test. Not like a test like we'll have once we spin up the test site class guy, but.
Yeah, very good.
Gonna be able to get the roof.
How's it? Well, when we get to you, we'll talk about other stuff. Any questions for Kathy? Nothing. All right, let's go to EMS.
All right, good morning, everybody. Update on our advanced EMT class. We had to put in an extension with the class another month due to some clinical and field requirements. A lot of our students were behind on meeting the requirements that we set forth for them to achieve with their patient, interactions as a student. So we wanted to extend the course to give those students some more time. The class did take their class final. The average for the class final was at 79%, so 10 of the 11 students passed. With that last student just shortly behind who, after a retest, we're hoping to get a passing grade out of. So usually on our finals versus the state written exam, we see scores improve on the state. You make them a little bit more challenging so that students are more likely to succeed in the state written exam. So 79% on our exam should equate to hopefully around 85 to 90% on the state exam. So feeling really good about this batch of students. Workforce New York, still partnering with them as we can. We're looking at some additional classes for this year. We're reaching out to instructors, trying to get some stuff on the calendar, keep our educational program, up and running. We still are going to continue to offer and support organizations with their Stop the Bleed programming. Do a lot of work with a lot of different agencies in that respect. So, other than that, continue to work with everybody, partnering with Kathy and Kevin and Shane and Tyler and all of our EMS agencies. We've been developing an update to our MCI plan. So more information should be out on that shortly. We gave all the EMS agencies an opportunity for feedback, and that meeting went pretty well. So still continuing to develop that plan into what we want it to look like. I got to get around in the month of January and do some AED checks and swap some AED pads and new batteries and stuff. So all those are up to speed. Other than that, that's about all I have, unless anyone has any questions or concerns.
Any questions? Last year, at the end of the year, we had, I think it was Cleveland lost ambulance service. Is that all sorted out, finalized now?
Yep, so an update on that. Mentor Ambulance was able to secure a permanent extension of their certificate of need. So they now have the town of Constantia, which includes the village of Cleveland, listed on their certificate, so they're able to operate as a primary agency in that area. The issue previously was that North Shore Ambulance was the only agency that had the town of Constantia listed in their CON. So we had to work with the Regional EMS Council and the State Bureau of EMS to figure out temporary solutions while we went through this process. But now that legality, the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed, that's all set and taken care of. And we worked with Kevin and his staff to make sure the CAD has reflected the proper changes so that everything is working as efficiently as we can get it to be.
Good job, thanks. Any other questions? All right, let's move on to 911. Kevin?
So our stats are listed. I did try to pull some year total for 2024, and that's the second column. Pull at the top on at least the calls answered and phone calls made and stuff like that. So you can see the overall year to date. As far as management activity goes, we did have a consortium meeting past Friday, and still remain chair of the technical subcommittee for the consortium, which was recently picked up. Tioga County and joined as well, so we have St. Lawrence County all the way down to Broome, Tioga. There's 8 counties now that are working on tying into the master site radio core, and then others that are working with us but aren't connected to the radio system. So one good thing to adding another county to the core is that our core services costs that we share will again be divided by another number, which will be helpful. So you should see some savings coming back out of that, which may get us a little closer to being able to cover the maintenance costs within our grant funding that we receive every year, which was just recently announced as of last week. So, community safety initiative items. The CRG mapping project is moving along like a freight train. Schools we got a majority of the schools that are actually at this time with their mapping. So I'll share with some of you the what those maps actually look like, and they're actually pretty sharp. There was a little hiccup with not capturing the location of the cameras, but they're going to get that taken care of for us. So that project is moving along. The AWARE project, which is the camera interface and mapping consolidation project. We did a kickoff meeting, we did a network meeting, and in the next couple weeks we're going to have another follow-up meeting on that to work through the next process. And working with IT, because as opposed to having a physical separate box, we're going to incorporate these applications within the county servers that we already have. So it's going to allow us to move some stuff around, as well as provide redundancy that we wouldn't have bought and purchased the physical box. So that'll be a good thing. Tactical dispatch, communication support. We did do some more radio original trainings and some radio refresher trainings to fire service agencies. Advanced telecommunicator, as we mentioned, the drone first responder drone in the box program is we've got the 2 docks that are working up in Fulton. We do have been working with the FAA to try and extend it and be able to put a couple more boxes that eventually will go to Plasky. We're going to put them up on top of the Public Safety Center to start off with while we're working through the bugs and glitches and stuff, so that we're physically right there if something needs a reset or we need to see what's actually happening as opposed to being fully remote. We've also purchased a couple small trains that will be our what we'll start off with for our locations down along Oneida Lake. So as opposed to trying to build something physically on private property, we'll mount everything and put everything within the trailer and be able to work with the 2 marinas that we've already had discussions with and be able to connect into their power. Everything else will be standalone. We won't need anything else from them. So at least try and get that started and talked about. It's really the FAA, we haven't engaged them yet on being able to turn those 2 sites on yet until we really get a lot of testing and stuff done for Fulton and hopefully the PSC here within that month or so. We've also been working on building out the policies and procedures for the new advanced telecommunicator position, which will be the position itself is really going to be a big game changer for the entire county right from the time we put it into place. And we're getting very, very close with cross-training. We have our county law cross-training is going to start next week. At the completion of that and 160 hours worth of training officer time that they have, will actually be in a really good position to be able to have those 2 people that are in those advanced telecommunicator positions more dedicated to the advanced telecommunicator position as opposed to doing training like what they're doing right now. Right now, it's kind of bounced back and forth a little bit. So we're working through that. We do need to do a lot of outreach to the end user agencies so they know what I'm talking about when we mention this, but we have started that and started to put together plans. We've been discussing it at Chiefs meetings, started having some discussions at PRAC and stuff. Next Generation 911, that kind of goes into 911 coordinators. I went to a lobbying day out in Albany last week, and we did the executive board, which I'm part of. We sat with 7 different legislators to have discussions and talk about, and a lot of that was talking about funding and support for Next Generation 911 to try and get New York State to build their own emergency services information network, as opposed to do like what we've done with the radio systems, where, hey, county, we'll give you money, you build something, and we'll figure out a way to connect it to your neighbor. We were asking that they go through and purchase one system for the entire state and then connect it to us. That should make the lift on our end a lot less. However, there could very well be some connection pieces that need to go into the phone system. So that's coming along. We do have a couple pieces of legislation that have been picked up and are being supported, which is excellent, and we hope that continues to move forward, and we're able to try and get that plan realized. State's been working on the Next Generation 911 plan, and I'm part of the planning work group as well as the technical subgroup of that as well, and that is having me in the middle of all of those discussions on how we're physically, technically going to make that happen, as well as the overall plan itself before it goes out for an RFP. So be part of that. It's pretty good on both sides. So now staff mental health piece. Our dispatch coordinators continue to work on some different programs, to work on some different ideas, and communicating with other counties on that as well. And we also was just made aware that there's been a bill, I forget where it was proposed, but there was a bill proposed to include was 911 dispatchers were notified in it, but also corrections officers were also listed in it. Those were the two groups of people that would be eligible for PTSD support and diagnosis and whatever resources are available to law enforcement and fire services throughout New York State. That would be included in that, which I think is a very good thing, because last year they did a survey statewide of all first responders. There was a very good inclusion of 911 dispatch in that as well, talking about a lot of different things, but a lot of focus towards mental health and impact and things like that. And they actually showed within that survey that 911 dispatch actually had the highest impact of PTSD and mental health issues because of the job than most of the other people that were surveyed in the information that was sent out. So it's obviously becoming more and more of an issue. And the big things we're seeing is that we dispatch people, law enforcement, fire, EMS out to these horrific incidents, and while they're handling that horrific incident, we're taking another 911 call for another one, or dispatching another agency to another horrific thing that's happening. There's no real time for closure or being able to follow that through. It's just jump. So that's something that we're pushing as the 911 coordinators, and we are starting to see some support for that, which is good.
Happy to hear about all the progress we're making on the mapping and the cameras. And
yes, that's very good.
It's great. Appreciate your hard work there. Any questions? Yes, ma'am.
One question. You spoke about the New York State overall connection.
Yep.
Right? But if that happens, you may have a problem with the phone connecting. Does that mean you need more fiber?
So the thought process is that New York State would provide us with some sort of a connection, probably fiber. We would assume it's probably going to be like a leased fiber line type connection. But the thing would be whatever the system needs in order to connect into our phone system. There may be some type of an interface device there that's required.
Okay. I was just wondering with our broadband contract that we have, to be aware that if you needed more, that would be the time that we could.
Yeah, IT and the Office of Strategic Initiatives did bring me into the loop of some of that stuff. We're looking at what actually co-locating some of that equipment at one of our tower sites that we already own.
Okay.
Where the connections of those are currently running, you don't see a huge assistance to us because we're already taken care of by other vendors.
Okay.
There's other stuff already in place.
Okay.
So, But the overall thought process is we really want those connections from the state to be brought directly to the 911 center and the backup site. Should be 2 connections in each site, or each county actually.
Just want to make sure you get all your tools.
Yes, appreciate
Okay.
that.
Mr. Conley has a question.
Remember we talked about like the people live near Hannibal, Hugh area?
Yep.
Would that fix this problem?
So the next generation 911, the big piece of it is geo-based locations. So instead of making a phone call going to a tower site that's pointing to this 911 center, it would say this cell phone is physically located in this particular location. It needs to go to this 911 center.
Would that
So-
help fix the issue?
It will. Now, if we are, there's a lot of legislation that needs to go into that to fix 911 law. There's funding, there's all that stuff. And initially, they were talking about possibly about $2 to $3 billion build out. So it's not a cheap or easy or quick thing. We're looking at like probably 3 to 7 years, depending on which road they go. We're making progress. We're getting some traction, which is helpful. So.
Any other questions for Kevin? Mr. Castillo?
Refresh me a little bit, Kevin. Did you touch on, I mean, we're looking at 76%.
Yeah,
10 seconds. At one point in time, we were at 87.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. So
What is your prediction to when we might,
I mean, we'll be close to 15, which is actually the standard. We're over 90%. I didn't change it for this particular report because we were looking at the 10-second rule or the 10-second report section, and it's actually the standard says within 15 seconds because I had looked it up to try and make sure I was giving you guys the right info. So that number is up where it's supposed to be to meet the standard, but that number, you're correct, was above 85 at one point in time, and it's largely been because we've been going through the training process. The recruits came out the middle of December, and that slowed things down a little bit because they were being trained and people weren't getting off the phone or putting calls on hold as quick as they usually would.
how would the recruiting go? Because I just heard, when you came in, you were talking about, some people not showing up for.
Talking for interviews, yeah. So us being able to participate in the New York State Helps program, which was another initiative that we did push at the state level, has been an excellent thing for us. Last year, a few years ago, we did a big push social media-wise. We had 130-some people that signed up for the test, and actually, 60 of them showed up to actually take the test or whatever. The past couple of years, that's been weaning off. Last year, we had 12 people that signed up for the test, and 7 people showed up to take it, and 6 people passed it. This year, we're back to, because we don't have to worry about the tests with the New York State Helps program, we were able to receive like 112 applications or something like that. And the bigger thing is we started asking for applications at the beginning of February, we're doing interviews this week, last week and this week, and these people are going to start March 3rd, as opposed to the old process going through the civil service. They would sign up in the end of November, beginning of December. The exam would be at the end of January. We'd get the results late May, early June, somewhere in there, and then it'd take us a month before we can do anything with it because we just finally got the information. So it's
I've never had a problem with, on the 10-second rule. I've never had a problem when I called. I mean, I've called them several times, and I know you're probably told that I called, but it is within the time, and they do act. I mean, it's great. I think you're doing a good job. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Kevin? All right, let's move on to Mr. District Attorney there. Anything personally?
Good morning. Apologize for being late. Recently was in New York City with the DASI, District Attorneys Association conference. Some of you may have seen a press release from the governor in regards to some proposed amendments in our budget to discovery law, which our conference, DASI, is supporting. Now that they've had 4 years to look over the new discovery laws, it has been showing by observations, I can quote, the Chief Administrative Judge Joseph Zayas, who noted that one of the selling points of discovery reform was the prompt exchange of information between prosecution and defense would hopefully lead to faster resolutions of cases. Unfortunately, it has not turned out that way. As explained by Judge Zayas, one reality of the present discovery regime is that from the defense perspective, it often rewards waiting so the defense can run out the speedy trial clock and force case dismissals. Furthermore, discovery law created a brand new motion practice that has become ubiquitous, challenges to the prosecution discovery compliance, which typically involve disputes over belatedly produced materials or differing interpretations of what is required by various statutory provisions. These motions are often complex and can take months to resolve, which in essence shows that the defendant's cases are not being resolved expeditiously as the original thought of the implications or the institution of the 245 CPL discovery laws. The amendments that we're supporting, the District Attorneys Association as well as myself, are supporting are amendments to the procedural aspects of the 245. There's no way amending any of the documents or information that needs to be exchanged, which is under A through U, the number of information and disclosure that the prosecution is required to provide to the defense side. However, the proposed amendments are procedurally making a fair playing field for the prosecution, putting into play the amount of information that needs to be disclosed to defense, as well as the idea that many defense wait in the woods to tell you that something was not disclosed, even though they could have told you that months and months prior to the prior disclosure. So many of the changes that the governor finally has proposed, and finally the state of New York has come to the realization, is that 245 had unintended consequences, requiring many, many dismissals based on speedy trial violations. The new amendments are calling for and realizing that we have humans involved and there's human error involved. There's many, many exchanges between law enforcement and the prosecution that requires a lot of coordination, and all stretch of the imagination, all law enforcement in the county of Oswego, including the Oswego County Sheriff's Department, has set a huge and high standard to comply and help and assist the district attorneys in our office in complying with discovery. That being said, these provisions we hope will be passed, although through the budget, will be passed on a partisan level between the Democrats and the Republicans, without any discussion one way or another. As I know it's coming through a budget, I support it. We're hoping that nobody puts some undue pressure on it because it's coming through a budget. It should be passed with partisan, should be passed by Democrats and Republicans alike. I note that DASNY has a number of district attorneys, 53 I believe, many of which are Democrats, many of which are Republicans, which all support these amended changes. And I hope that we get the Oswego County Legislature supporting this as well. That being said, it doesn't change the amount of information that needs to be exchanged. We're going to be starting enhancing our digital capabilities, because I believe the only way we can match the requirements the state has put on us as being more digitally into the 21st century, if you will, capable to do this. So I think this is a positive way of going about it. We hope that it passes. Again, it's only in a budget, but that would help our district attorney's office as well as the district attorneys in the state of New York to meet these enormous requirements required of us under 245 as an action. I have no other further reports.
Any questions? Hearing none, let's move on to the sheriff. You got anything for us, Con?
On the correction side, we're full staff. We're hiring now on the road patrol side. Committed to 5 out of 10 openings that we have right now. Next public safety meeting, I believe, we're still set for that, correct?
Yeah.
It's gonna be down at the new academy.
Yep, so everybody mark your calendar next month, I think it's March 3rd. We're gonna have our public safety meeting at the academy. So be prepared for that, mark it down on your phones, your calendars, your date. Same time, 11 o'clock. I know Don's been anticipating this for a long time, he wants to
Yeah,
showcase the new academy.
Get you a
Beautiful.
tour of the facility, and it turned out absolutely unbelievable. Well beyond what we ever anticipated. And our first class, we started this spring there, and we're up to 33 right now. We're going through that class.
That's awesome.
Corrections today.
Correction started
Oh,
today, right?
yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, any questions for the sheriff? Mr. Castillo?
Yes, sir.
I want to try to properly term this question, so that I don't know, upset too many people, but that's highly unlikely. In light of what happened recently, it's all in the news about the state corrections and the death and all that, and the cameras and all that. And I just wondered if, enlighten me again as to what our use of body cameras within the correction facilities, from intake through anything that happens. Is there always a camera on, or do we not have enough cameras? If we don't, can we get them? Is the state going to help us with anything at all on that side, sir?
There are cameras in most areas of the jail. We do not have body cameras on corrections officers. I'm not opposed to it. They're not opposed to it. It's just like road patrol officers. Everybody thought this was going to show how bad stuff was on the street, and all it has done is show that 99% of the time police officers do the right thing.
Well, it's not my major concern is for the safety of the officers, okay? In any sense, because the first thing what happens is somebody's going to cry foul, and we don't have, a picture serves 1,000 words, okay? And that officer is protected because
Absolutely.
we've got, right here on film, it shows you what you did, okay? And it protects that officer to the nth degree, and that's what I'm looking for. And if we need state money to be able to get, because they're the ones that are pushing for this, okay? Pushing for it at the state level, okay, to give money out there. Well, we've got problems, if we've got issues within our own, local, county jail, that we need some help, and we would like to be able to protect our officers. As, that's all I'm asking for is if we need something, we're all going to be going to, some of us are going to go into Albany in February, and if something that we need to be sent.
I'm not opposed to body-worn cameras. I will tell you that right now our contract, and Kate and John have been working on our contract for tasers and body-worn cameras that we currently have on the road patrol side are going to have to be phased out soon, and it's going to be a substantial cost. Axon, we have a proposal on the table, but there's going to be a substantial increase with that. And it relates to the contract going back to the DA's office, with us being able to share that information. And I don't know where they stand on that on the DA side, but I know Axon is going to start charging them for something that had been free until this calendar year.
Also, if I can interject, our Black Creek, the contract who does all of our computers in the jail and runs the cameras, that was upgraded about 2.5, 3 years ago. We've done a complete overhaul. We've replaced most of the cameras, the outdated ones. I'm not aware right now of any that they're looking, but we do meet on a regular basis with corrections, and Lieutenant Beardsford handles all the cameras. Lieutenant Beardsford and Lieutenant Bartlett handle the cameras. And I'm not aware of, right now we don't have any requests, but I will bring that up to them to, if they have any needs, to let us know for upgrades. But the system itself was upgraded tremendously from when we first came in office.
I just, like I said,
Yeah, there's always room for probably more upgrades,
right.
But we do at least, we can see the pictures in the jail. There are monitors, and when we first got there, most of the cameras were down or outdated and wouldn't work with the system. And they are currently working, and like I said, I know our staff down there is very pleased with the system we have in place now.
Thank you. When I get up there, I'll ask you what we can do, to push it to state level to give money out and, when I give it to the local, because this is where it starts.
Yeah, we'll always take money and do upgrades especially if we can get it from the state.
State gets a lot of our money, they spend a lot of places that shouldn't be spent, but, let's do it to the services and the protection of, all our people. Thank you very much. Thank you, John.
All right, let's, Don, you done?
Yep.
Okay, probation, Dave?
Thanks, Warren. Just on the tail end of the discussion about the body-worn cameras, my staff and my special services staff have been expressing interest in going to Canada. So it's something we can talk about. I don't know if maybe we can go on to you guys as far as buying new ones. Other probation departments across the state have started. Really. I know there's a lot of grants out there too, so we're looking at that. But more to come on that. But our supervision numbers are up a little bit, which I expected. We're getting more drug court supervision cases, some interim supervision cases from drug court, so that's bringing up our numbers. I did include the stats, which I haven't had on my report before, about how many admission interlock cases we've got. We're the monitoring authority for admission interlocks and conditional discharge cases. I think as of last couple months ago, we had 2, so it's kind of a big lift for us there. We are at full staff. We hired 2 new probation officers over the last couple months. They're both provisional, so they've got to take the test in June. Hopefully we'll do okay. They both started the academy this week, so be a lot of training, so they're kind of out of the office, but good that we're up to full staff. Just going to mention that there's a pretrial bill pending in the state to remove pretrial services out of probation departments to nonprofit organizations. So both probation administrators and probation officers association are both opposing that. I don't know where it's going to go. It's been pending for a while, and I guess it's getting some speed. So we've been working with NISAC, kind of keeping up with what's going on with that. So that could be a big change if that ends up happening, because we've got people in our office on pretrial services. So that would be an issue. I don't know where it's going to go. I think it makes more sense to keep it with probation departments, but let's see. As far as Stop DUI, we had a victim impact panel back in December. We had 30 people attend, which is a pretty good high number, a little more than typical. We've got a couple mock DUI scheduled already, one in Sandy Creek, and one in Phoenix, both in May. And our educator, DWI educator, has been doing some driver education classes.
Questions for probation? No.
Excuse me. You mentioned that, there's grants out there for the body-worn camera. Have you been in discussion with the county grant writers?
Not yet. We just kind of started this whole process.
Okay, because they've been very, very good in getting stuff, so make sure that you use them.
Yep.
Mr. Castillo?
Typical type question. The people that want to be qualified to carry, are they all qualified? No. And how many you have that?
We have 10 that are now.
Okay, but how many more want to be qualified to carry?
Probably none.
Okay, so that's what I want to know.
Yeah.
Okay, and as far as I think we talked about it in past meetings about the vests. Everybody that wants one has them.
Absolutely.
Okay, I'm good then. Thank you.
All right, I know our fire coordinator had fires today, so it's preoccupied, but I think Mr. Martinez wanted to add a little something.
Yes, what I didn't report is as far as the district attorney's office, I'm 2 ADAs down now. We had a senior ADA resign just before the Christmas holiday. She took a job on with the York Court of Administration, with the 5th Judicial District. She's working as a clerk. Taking just an example, piggyback off our 245 issues and requirements that the district attorney's office required. She took on a job with less pay because our office requires more work than any other agency in the county of Oswego and more work than a court clerk would be required to do. So we truly were missing her. I mean, it's unfortunate that she left, but I understand why she left. And I know ill will towards her, but just an example for our committee to understand the issues that we have with the hiring process. And then the retaining process because of what's required as a result of the job required by the district attorney. I can say that I have been able to hire 3 new paralegals. I have 1 paralegal, so I'm supposed to have 4. I have 1 on leave right now, so I have 3 paralegals, full-time paralegals. I have 2 investigators, 1 investigator's position still to be filled, and we're interviewing as we speak in regards to that. Should have that filled shortly.
Nobody here for search and rescue?
No, but Aaron did send his year-end report out, just a recap for 2024. So the year-end call summary, they did a total of 55 calls in 2024, where they did 66 calls in 2023, so a little bit down from there. Subject matters for 2024 had the most of children lost or missing. There were 17 calls in 2024 for that. Year to date, they've done 4 calls, mostly to support other counties, Warren County, Clinton County, Onondaga County, and Lewis County, different pieces. And then just to highlight some training that they did with the Onondaga County Sheriff's Office, the Air 1 in Parish, where they reviewed the capabilities and some best practices when they searched together. So want me to bring that to you. If you have any questions, I did speak to Shane this morning too, so if you have any questions for the fire code, I have to bring that back.
He's been busy.
Yes, 3 fires this morning.
Yeah.
Last I knew he was on the one in Parish.
Or in county up.
Look at that barn fire.
All over the place.
Where was it, where they lost their horses?
Yeah, that's last guy.
Well, that's got.
That's guy.
Was there?
Yeah.
Lost the house.
All right, also on our list are financial reports new for this year. Any questions on the financial reports? No. All right, and I'll look for the appropriate motion. Meeting adjourned.